So I'm starting 2025 with a video which I hope will be a little bit shorter than usual, yet still quite relevant and interesting. Not so long ago, I had this customer requirement to implement a subgrid in model-driven apps in which I could show the siblings of the record, meaning that all those records would have one parent record, but they would be represented in one subgrid. To make more sense about this requirement, let's jump into my drawing board and I will show you exactly what I have in mind. Let's say we have an account entity that contains a recursive relationship to itself. This means that company A might have child companies. Let's call them A1, A2, A3, and so on. Now let's imagine that every time we open any of the child accounts, we want to see its siblings in the subgrid. And this becomes a little bit tricky with out-of-the-box model-driven apps view component, especially if we would want to layer additional logic on top of it. And so this is where Dataverse plugins come into play. In such case, we can implement a plugin on retrieve multiple message so that for particular view, we would overwrite the fetch results. Every time our application renders a view, it makes a retrieve multiple request to Dataverse. And this is where we can intercept that request and overwrite it with our own fetched data. So this is more or less all with the theory. Now let's jump into the demo, and after that we'll be able to check the code. Now I'm starting to feel a little bit like a broken record, but here we are back at my model-driven apps environment. And as you can already see, I opened my account A form, and in this form we can see the subgrid of child accounts. And in this subgrid, we can see three accounts, A1, A2, and A3. Now, naturally, you would think that if I would open one of these child accounts, I would see the subgrid with child accounts of that child account. But instead of that, if I open account A1, I'm seeing other child accounts of my parent record, which in this case are the sibling accounts of A1. And to be specific, A3 and A2. And this is more or less how it works. Now, since the demo is out of the way, we can go and check how the code is structured. So here we are in my Visual Studio, and we can now go through the plugin line by line. I start my plugin always with the context parameters of the plugin execution, meaning my tracing service, the service and context. These allow me to interact with the Dataverse services when I'm executing the plugin. And the logic starts with the line 22, where I'm actually checking if my input parameters contains a query. If not, then I'm returning from the method, so meaning that I don't want to execute it any further. Now, in case my input parameters contains parameter of named query, I want to extract it into an object of field expression named query, and then I'm checking if this query contains a string GUID, which is the ID value of the view on which I want to execute this plugin. Now, I don't really want to execute plugin for every account view, just for a specific one. And this safeguards me from executing it on any other view, for example, my active accounts. Now, since I'm running my plugin on retrieve multiple post-operation stage, I can expect that my output parameters will have a collection of entities that are being returned to the user interface from the database. Now I want to get that collection and then clear the entities from it, because later on I want to overwrite it with my own specific logic. So as you might remember from my model-driven apps, I'm trying to get my child records in a subgrid. And to get those child records, I need to have the parent account ID. And this is what's happening on lines 36 to 42. I'm trying to parse the condition from my fetch XML query, which is then being sent from my subgrid to the backend. And from that condition, I'm trying to get the parent account ID. And once I have that parent account ID, I'm trying to fetch that account record. Now, since I have my current account, I want to check if it's parent account or it's actually one of the child ones. So here I have my if statement in which I'm checking if my current record contains value of parent account. And if so, it means that my current account is not the parent one because it already has the parent account. Therefore, I'm setting the parent account as the parent of my current record. Otherwise, if my current record does not have a parent account, means it is the parent account. Therefore, I'm setting the parent account as a current record. Next, I'm creating a query expression in which I'm trying to get all the child records of the parent account. Now again, if my current record is parent already, then I will be getting just child records. But if my current record is already a child, I'm then fetching all other childs of my current record's parent account, meaning my siblings. And also I'm adding one additional condition in which I'm saying that my account ID should not be equal to current account ID, because I don't really want to have my current record within the siblings, because I already opened the sibling form and I just want to see other siblings in the subgrid. And then I'm just executing service retrieve multiple to get that entity collection. And since I have my entity collection, which is basically my sibling records or my child records, I'm adding those entities inside of the collection that I got from output parameters, meaning that I intercepted the output parameters, exchanged the entities within it, and then left it on to reach the user interface. And now you can see that there's also one commented outline in which I can either add or not add the parent account into the list. So it's just the preference. Maybe you want to see the parent account within the siblings as well, maybe you're not. So that's basically the logic. Also important note is that this is just a demo project. You can actually execute your own logic and actually make it way more complex than it is to suit your needs. But this is just to give you an idea what can be done with retrieve multiple plugins. So this is more or less everything that I wanted to share with you this time. I'm really happy that the video came out a little bit shorter than usual. And if you liked it, feel free to click a like button or leave a comment below. And as always, I really appreciate you tuning into these videos, and I hope to see you next time.